My name is Ava Zumpano, and I am from Baltimore, Maryland. I am currently a student in college. I am going into my junior year, and this summer I'm interning at the Institute for Human-Centered Design. I was diagnosed at a very young age with ADHD and dyslexia. I was diagnosed in second grade. It was mostly because I had a lot of trouble learning to read, and I wasn't learning at the same pace as other students around me. I definitely struggled a lot as a child to learn. Went from having a lot of trouble reading in early elementary school to being like a voracious reader. By the time I was like in fourth grade, I was obsessed. My parents had to get me a Kindle because I was costing them too much money in books. I didn't know that I had a chronic illness until I wasn't diagnosed until later in life. I have POTS and hypermobility spectrum disorder. POTS is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. When I got to college, it became abundantly clear that I was struggling with things that other kids my age were not. Other kids at college were struggling with homesickness, or how do I make friends, or what is going on in college classes, and I was dealing with being young and disabled, and finally reckoning with the fact that I might not be able to do everything I've ever wanted to do with my disability. And I've always been someone who has put their mind, if I get an idea in my head and I want to do it, I'll do it. And I just needed to know that I could still do that. And I stumbled across the disability rights movement, and I was kind of hooked. It kind of blew my mind to see how cool the advocacy around the disability rights movement that eventually led to the ADA, but that also included the 504. I definitely think that dyslexia has a really big stigma around it, but more importantly, I think it's just deeply misunderstood by the public. I've talked to a few older dyslexic people recently, and their kind of understanding of dyslexia, or the stigma they had to deal with, was, oh, it's dumb, you're dumb, or you just can't learn. And while I didn't necessarily get like told that directly, but it's hard to be someone who presents as healthy and is a student athlete and is pushing their body really hard for sport or stuff like that. Like if I'm working out every day, it's kind of hard to explain to people why I have trouble walking upstairs. And that's just a weird thing. And you kind of always get told by people in a joking way of like, oh, wait until you're older, your knees are gonna give out and stuff. You kind of are trying to figure out how you can live your life as a young person while everyone around you seems to be able to live it carefree and do stupid things and just have normal consequences of like, oh, I went out partying too much, whereas I am like, if I work out too much, I can have a flare, and then it's a lot different for me than other people who are just sore or tired. This is what I am, and what I am is, I'm grateful for all of it, but it's hard sometimes to say that I'm grateful for my POTS. In many ways, I wish I didn't have POTS. The experiences and the things I'm grateful from POTS are just as a way that I as an individual have worked around my disability and learned to grow and accept things and change with it. Because my dyslexia doesn't mean that I'm not smart or that I don't understand things or that I don't care, and it actually really doesn't matter. Spelling is there for a reason, but at the end of the day, if you can understand what I'm saying, it doesn't need to be the measure of like how important I am, or how much of an asset I am to other people to help them with work, or spelling isn't the end all be all of the world, and kind of judging people and having a schooling system and a workplace and a society that really emphasizes that if you don't spell right or like edit right or do XYZ right, that you're not smart or you're not thoughtful or careful is just, it's not great. It kind of sucks because it just ends up internalizing things and making people shy about how they express themselves, and that's kind of a disservice.